Well, here we go again. Try a little different format. We're in the workshop here this morning. Hopefully you can hear me mumbling through the trademark bandana. Get my gear on. Today we're just fucking around. I've got an old board here that I would like to make into a cruiser, and I feel like I have a little time on my hands today, so we're gonna get that started. I'll be chatting periodically throughout, but I'm gonna have to fast forward through some of the sanding. I want to get the bottom of this deck down to bare wood, so I'll fast forward here in a second. Negative, we needed more aggressive sandpaper. I'll fucking be there all day long doing that shit. So while we're changing up the sandpaper here, crazy brave new world we live in, that's for sure. How about some Corona talk? You know, the virus is not undermining it at all, but the virus is definitely alarming, as it should be. But even more alarming to me is the financial ramifications that are going to ensue now that our economy has fucking entirely shut down. The global economy, nonetheless, and recovery from that is what is alarming to me. That's the scariest part for me. I think is going to be the recovery of everyone. This is unprecedented, the extent to which our economy has been paralyzed. Everyone is under a mandatory stay-at-home notice from their local state governments, and the feds are pursuing the same agenda in order to pass this as efficiently as possible without straining our medical community even more so than they are today. But we'll get over that. But the economic part, I struggle with. I heard somewhere before all this happened that there was a some study done, and the average American family is essentially living from paycheck to paycheck and finds it hard. It's impossible for the average family to incur a cost over $400 that's outside their normal budget expenditure. $400. That's nothing. That's a fucking car breakdown. God forbid you have a healthcare crisis. Your kid breaks his arm at the skate park, and your insurance is shoddy, or all those things. But now we've asked everyone to stay home and not work, and a record number of unemployment is now piling up, and I just do not understand where we expect to get all of this money for a reasonable recovery to happen without people going into massive debt. Right now I've heard the feds and local government agencies are giving out 0% interest loans. But what good is a 0% interest loan for a company right now if they can't? My glasses fogging up. If they can't uh, have a business that is viable in the paralyzed economy of today. So, afterwards that's going to help out. But, as far as people paying their mortgage, paying their rent, once you're a couple months behind and you go back to work, you're not going to make up that lost money if it is over a certain amount and you make a certain amount and your expenses are a certain amount every year. You're not going to magically come up with that money to make up the loss that you've incurred during this crisis. So I would consider myself the COVID-19 crisis to be followed economically. It is a healthcare problem, but a financial crisis, I guess, is how I would like to characterize it. But back to Sam. Things moving all over the place, so should have done a little bit ago is fucking that's that right there. Let's drill this motherfucker into the ground. Still too short. Come on, motherfucker. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about the economic crisis? Well, funny I should mention that, but excuse me. Watch this. One more horrible noise for you guys. how are we going to deal with that? I don't hear the feds talking about it very much because it's probably very alarming for all the economists that are currently pondering this particular conundrum. But it's going to take some clever economics, and it's going to take, I personally think I mean, simple addition and subtraction don't fucking lie. If there's one thing that's very convenient about them, is they're very straightforward, and they can give you projections as to ideas or concepts or businesses that will be financially viable or not by running some numbers. And it's not complicated math. You do some demand analysis, you do some cost analysis, you do some marketing analysis, you start doing some addition and subtraction, and you say, is this economically viable, what I'm proposing here? And do you use that same analysis for people's living expenses? Usually everyone has certain fixed living expenses, i.e. your electrical, your water, your housing, very minimally from month to month. So those are your fixed expenditures, or known expenditures every month. And people have a problem with just those. Well, just maintaining those fixed expenditures, much less variable expenditures or quality of life, I guess you could say, expenditures that aren't, I guess, coming from a very conservative standpoint, you could say aren't all that necessary. But a lot of people use these fixed expenditures to supplement their daily lives and provide some sense of meaning and happiness and whatnot for them to experience, so they don't feel like they're just stuck in the monotony of getting by. There's nothing worse for the ego and to generate a grim and bleak future for yourself if you find the never-ending loop of employment just to get by as your indefinite future without ever really getting ahead. That's a way to take on some anxiety, depression, and probably not be the most useful person. You're not your best self when operating under those conditions for a sincere amount of time. Is that necessary to get by and live in today's world? Absolutely. I'm not saying everyone doesn't need to work and it's all a sham and we live in a fucking shithole and we should all just grow our own food and fucking, swap spit. That's not the solution. We have developed into a very complex society. I mentioned this on a post I think I put on Instagram with a friend of mine. Shout out to Kavanaugh and his wife Petra, I think. They've always kind of been a real grounded voice throughout my knowing him, and I'm just very, very casual friends with Pierce. But he had asked me not to go off on a tangent if I was happy or satisfied with where society has come, and I said my exact answer I think was not so much. Not so much. I think we've done the best with what I shouldn't say the best. We have sufficiently adapted to our ever-changing politics and economy and society, but we haven't done it in an optimal way. This is a perfect example. We can't even deal with a health crisis that frankly was predicted a long time ago. We've gone through this. There's been several iterations of similar instances at the global level too, but it just seems like today and in these times we are so fragile that something that disrupts normality for us can be devastating now. We seem to have lost our resilience a little bit. Everyone's I forget what the word is, um, simp or something like that, or whatever the that version of a male that's just very conformist and um, it's like a bitch, basically, I guess is the word that I know. But I think there's a PC term now for it. Um, People were calling iDubbbz simp, I think it is. Whatever, it's whatever. It's a fucking bitch. It's a guy that basically uh, does not exude self confidence, maybe isn't making life decisions based on what's right or wrong. His decisions are based more on what will garner uh, the most views, basically. Um, uh, what will give me the most clout? How will I move myself up in the rankings of society? And it has a whole nother tangent I could go off on for quite some time. Is the youth that is now grown up on the internet, social media, now has a standard that people my age, I'm in my 40s, never had to contend with when we were younger. When I was younger, I didn't have friends running around with cell phones, fucking filming all my awkward moments and my pubescent days, as a teenager, and my attempts to fit in with new groups and friends. All those things, thank God, they are a fucking thing of the past and only stored in my memory bank along with those that I interacted with. And probably a lot of people that I interacted with when I was younger don't even really recall my situation, which is even better because they were so overly well concerned with their own. I started making these videos. I used to be super self-conscious. I am super self-conscious. I used to be super self-conscious, but I wear this bandana because now I'm not. Nobody gives a fuck about you, really, to be perfectly honest. Everyone is so consumed and overwhelmed with their own inner dialogue and their plight in life that they may take the time to watch what you're watching, maybe judge you a little bit, but for the most part, it's kind of in the eyes and out the brain. It's just fucking mass media to consume to pass the time, to take your mind off of your reality, basically. This is what entertainment provides. It provides a relief from the grind, a relief from the struggles of survival. I think one thing that we tend to shy away from in telling our kids, because we do tend to sugarcoat everything that we present to them in a way that we don't, that the world is full of opportunity. You are full of capability, and if you put your mind to it, you can do whatever you want, Billy. Okay, and that's true to a certain extent. But in that same discussion, I think there should be some mention of the difficulties that we're going to face in life, the death that is inevitable in life. And if you do face these things at a younger age, then you tend not to deny them when you get older. And when you tend not to deny them when you get older, maybe this somehow causes a change in your psychological being. You kind of you grow up, or you progress through life and reality in a way that you become an asset to those that meet you, and those people you meet become an asset to you too. So I think one of the worst kind of plights in life is when you get to a point that you are no longer an asset to anyone around you, including your family. Um, and I think a lot of people feel like that. I think the only asset that they can associate with themselves is a financial asset. Well, I provide a financial living for my family, so I am necessary and I am living my best life. Well, I hate to tell you, yes, that is necessary, but that contribution, the financial soundness, is not as profound as you may think as far as its effects on your children and future generations. Does it help? Does it make things more convenient? Absolutely. But your kids don't need money necessarily from you when they're growing up. They need leadership and guidance. They need to be taught respect. They need to be taught what's right and wrong, common decency, and they need to be global citizens. They need to not be consumed about their own clout-chasing status and their own personal well-being. They need to take inventory, look around and say, am I someone who I would want to meet and befriend and add them to my list of contacts? Or is this person a waste of my fucking time, you know? And I hate to be blunt and frank about it, but that's kind of what you need to do these days in your life, is to take stock in those around you, in those people that are not direct assets. Maybe they're family members that need help or something like that. That's a different story. That's where you could be an asset and help provide them the resources necessary to get them to where they need to be, back on the asset team. But there are other casual friends that you meet that may just be in a clique that you are running with, or a scene that you're into. And those people are great to acknowledge as casual acquaintances, but to envelop them into your life and spend time and effort maintaining those relationships, if you're not getting anything out of them, it's a fucking waste, dude. It's a waste. And I'm a people lover, trust me, but I can, if there's one innate ability I think I possess, I don't even really necessarily need to talk to you. Just by your demeanor, doing something in particular, some sort of task, you can't just be standing there with your thumb up your ass. I can kind of tell and assess if you're worth my time or not. And that's not to say that I'm any better or worse off than you, or that I'm riding my high horse around saying, you are a friend, you are not friend, you are worthless, because I may be worthless to some people may not need anything that I'm capable of providing in their life, so I may not be an asset, and I'm perfectly accepting of that fact, and I'm well aware of it.